When I stopped swimming after the second Olympic Games, I found myself with this immense amount of time. I needed to fill all of this time. And so I embarked upon a course of learning.
Join Panita, where we talk on the Techful Founder podcast. Empower your startup journey as a non-technical founder with actionable insights from successful entrepreneurs. Nick Rees is a two-time Olympian who transitioned from swimming to the digital frontier. He co-founded Kanoo Pays and played a pivotal role in creating the first digital dollar. Nick is here to share the excellence mindset that helped him build this groundbreaking technology, including secrets you won't find anywhere else. Can you share the journey that led you from being a two-time Olympian to co-founding Kanoo Pays? What inspired this transition?
All my life was dedicated as a swimmer. That life takes you down a road of self-discovery. Any sport as an athlete forces you to learn the principles of failure, sacrifice, discipline, and overcoming adversity and challenges. I'm a big advocate of sports, not just for the physical and health benefits, but also the principles and values it teaches that are directly related to business. When I stopped swimming after the second Olympic Games, I found myself with this immense amount of time. Take 6 hours out of your day of training, then what are you going to do? I needed to fill all of this time. And so I really just embarked upon a course of learning. I studied, went to the University of Miami, did a master's degree in international business, which was very enlightening to me in terms of just business as a whole. And then further went on to continue studies as an accountant. So I became a certified chartered accountant in England and Wales with an ACCA degree. And that again was not intentional. It was just done as a desire to learn accounting. Always had an interest in business and always had an ability to see how different things connected. And as a result of being introspective, maybe perhaps as a swimmer, face down in the water with no one to talk to but yourself, maybe some of this helped my ability to identify opportunities and connect them with the people, places, and resources needed as a result of the discipline instilled in me over the years and the quiet mind that was instilled by countless laps in solitude. I think that's something that is also important for all of us to take time to reflect, center ourselves, and get to know yourself. When you find that place within yourself and tap into your intuition, I think this is when real alignment happens. And you then prepared to take advantage of the opportunities as they present themselves. A little bit of luck as well that these opportunities do come. I believe everything happens for a reason. And in fulfilling one's purpose, you come to the opportunities designed for you. It's important to be self-centered and introspective so that you could block out the outside noise, so that you could really be in tune with your purpose and what you're called to do. I attribute that to my upbringing. Some may call it the butterfly effect. My favorite stroke was butterfly. I'm a believer in coincidence and intuition and the power of human beings connecting and aligning to do something greater than ourselves. Swimming and competitive sport had an immense amount to do with me being able to continue to develop professionally and to have the wherewithal to put in the 20-hour days to raise a business. I encourage all of my kids to engage in sports, and any youth I talk to or come across, it's something that I think they get immense value out of.
Definitely. I think that's a very impressive career that you have had. And it shows that sports and business correlate a lot, especially with swimming, because entrepreneurship is a lonely journey. Being able to be alone with yourself for a long time and having that intuition can give people much clarity.
I'm still learning. I don't have all the answers. The entrepreneurial journey has been like a PhD program combined with tertiary, secondary, and primary school all encapsulated. So I am learning each day that continued growth and self-development is required. And as a leader, sometimes we think, oh, we know it, we know our business, we know what we're doing, we know what we need to do. But I believe it's important to stay committed to learning because we don't know what we don't know. With an open mind and an approach to knowledge seeking, you learn ways to improve not just your business, but the means in which you work with those in your business, your partners. In the journey of Kanoo, which we would have started originally with the idea in 2017, from 2017 to now, which would have been 7 years, we launched in 2019. So it took us 2 years to get off the ground. The leader I was in the beginning is not the leader that I am now. I'm not the same individual as when I started. I had to go through some painful lessons and painful decisions. And these decisions and lessons require you to grow. And you can no longer act and engage as the same person because you have a new responsibility, you have a new direction, and it is important for you to embrace the new because the new engages you as you are today and it provides what you need and those around you meet you as you are and that empowers you and your continued growth. And so for us, it is hard to let go of the old because we resist change. But I think when you can, again, getting back to centering yourself and being able to let go and trust in this process, that's when you can then, I believe, exponentially the opportunities compound themselves and a whole new world begins to open up in your path to success. And so we're still in that journey. We're now, having learned from the lessons of our past, we're making appropriate changes for the next phase of Kanoo, what we will become in the next 2 years. And I'm extremely happy and have been extremely lucky that we have an amazing team with us that have also been able to grow with us. And so it's not just about your self-growth, but how do you make sure that everyone around you is also growing and encouraging them to do, and then having the appropriate communication and processes in place so that you can create a collective mind, right, within your organization. And the communication amongst your collective mind enables your organization to essentially function as a symbiotic unit versus 5 different parties going in 5 different directions, which is what we saw early on when we started. And so it was it was just trying to organize everything, bring everything under one, make sure we can appropriately share the vision across sectors, across the teams, and that everyone could be in alignment. Okay, this is my purpose, my swim lane, and this is how we get to the end.
Letting go, trusting the process, and continuously improving with your team. What were some of the biggest challenges you faced while developing the sand dollar, and how did your experiences as an athlete help you overcome them?
The major challenge has been education. Two issues, lack of understanding of what this means to me as a person or business, and fear of the unknown. And many persons, when you don't understand something and you fear something, you don't adopt it, right? And so that has been our primary challenge in the Bahamas. And so we have a saying in our company: we meet people where they are as it relates to technology. We educate them and walk through the journey with them to bring them along, to help them to get comfortable with it, to help them to understand it, We in the Bahamas, along with the other AFIs and the Central Bank of the Bahamas, has a massive financial literacy program. We've taken the approach to go into the schools. We've developed a product called Cashless Campus. We create the school IDs for students, and we convert those school IDs into payment instruments. And those payment instruments are managed and funded by parents. Parents can see what the child is spending, and the child uses those school IDs essentially on campus for purchase of their lunch. This is a way to expose youth to technology, digital payments, and financial literacy. We envision now having savings and investment clubs being hosted by Cashless Campus within the various schools, teaching kids the basic principles of purchasing stocks, investing in bonds, and general savings, right? And we would envision a typical child upon graduation even potentially having a bit of savings on their cashless campus account that they could take with them as they go off onto their college journey. We see a lot of opportunity engaging the youth poised to adopt digital technology. Our target market is under 45 in the Bahamas. Through our efforts, 80-year-old grandmothers are using the technology, going into supermarkets, scanning with their phones. We created a world-class program called our Digital Social Aid Platform, where we've taken digital aid and we've completely physical food vouchers, and we've completely digitized that program, which provided full accountability and traceability to the government of the Bahamas during COVID for delivering food to individuals. So we eliminated lines, we eliminated the stigma around carrying food stamp. And so what we've also did, which was of major significance, we all are talking about increasing efficiencies in our lives globally. And so we took a 4-hour process for government process to 20 minutes from end to end as it relates to onboarding, distributing that digital aid to that particular approved recipient. What we also did, which is we took the instrument and we made it restrictive such that it could only be used at the approved vendors for the particular type of aid that it was designated for. So whether you had food or school uniform assistance, those funds were restricted specifically for the aid that you were approved for. And then we thought that we would want to expand this economic reach within the community, because historically you will have the larger food chains and the larger vendors participating in these government-run aid programs. And so through our technology, we were able to say these individuals are walking past their local mom and pop stores to go to these larger vendors, but their local community stores have bread, they have eggs, they have a lot of the same food products. We included those stores in the digital platform and were able to onboard them and get them approved as approved vendors, which then expanded, as you could imagine, that the economic reach into the community, which is something that we feel very proud about. Our model is about empowerment. How do we get our users, merchants, and communities empowered to raise their standards of life? In the Bahamas, we've been successful with our adoption targets, mapping to what we had planned, our expectations in terms of FinTech adoption globally. You're looking at that target market between 18 to 45. We're seeing that trend hold pretty standard in the Bahamas, which gives us the comfort now, having gone through these lessons and really stabilized the business model in terms of where we need to go next. Now we are looking to expand into other Caribbean islands and Africa. Today we're in 4 Caribbean islands, and a 5th is expected to be approved this year. We're excited about international expansion. We're growing at a rapid pace, trying to take advantage of the opportunities and steady the ship as we scale, which requires us to identify more persons of like mind and better qualifications and competencies that are going to be needed to take us to that next level.
Definitely. So you're very much empowering communities all around, from digitalizing food stamps to teaching financial education to college students. And I think that is so important because technology is supposed to lift us all up. And you're doing just that, which is brilliant.
Yeah, I've heard it's this term, the democratization of technology, right? And in this new world that we're all in and evolving within, technology is going to play an instrumental role. And I think it is important for us all to get involved, to start to learn about technology, what it means to our lives, privacy, data protection, security. These are resounding principles and values that we want to make sure that are enshrined not just in our technology, but in our daily lives as we engage with plethora of businesses out there. And that's always changing and evolving. As a business, we've learned to evolve our technology in order to stay ahead of the trends. And that's something that we put the everyday tools in place to keep those processes happening. One of our big passions is sovereign digital identity, the creation of a digital twin. We want to see a future where digital identity and payments undergoes an enhancement in the regulatory regime of the various countries, led by a principle of sovereign ownership rights to the individual as it relates to identity and as it relates to payments, whereby the digital transaction should liken and mirror as much as possible the characteristics of a fiat dollar, which means certain anonymity, security, cost, right? Those elements should be really built into a CBDC. And as we look at it, a government should print currency and the market should manage it. As CBDC regulations unfold globally, the concerns of the state and the human being will begin to merge. We will address some of those fears, hopefully through regulation, through technical innovation as well. And that's something that is centered to what we do and the heart of what we do. We see our purpose as the world's first to work with a live CBDC, to really bring our level of understanding, knowledge to the development of this in a global perspective. And we've begun to have some of those conversations. We're working with CBDC in Africa. At the core of everything is really your digital identity. Who is this that I'm transacting with in this digital realm? And one of the things that we believe that will come to fruition is this sovereign ownership of your digital identity, whereby you control and own your own digital identity that's verified on a blockchain. Your biometrics represent your private key. So the only opening of that door could come from presentment of your live self, right? Which would minimize costs for financial institutions to hold, store, manage KYC data. It would minimize the risk in all transactions because you are validated and vetted as the approved person to transact. And it could be the beginning of a zero risk financial based economy. So with digital identity, biometrics, and digital payments, we have an opportunity to completely reevaluate the entire financial landscape, all the way from the banking systems, which are no longer needed, the core banking systems. We can eliminate those. We can advance technical adoption, minimize risk, provide more financial inclusion, more financial empowerment trading tools using AI. Imagine one day you sit back and what is my goal this year? My goal is I want to buy a car. I want to buy a Mercedes Benz and it costs $80,000. The AI is going to tell you in order to have this in this account by this date, these are the stocks you need to buy. And here's how to buy it. Would you like to buy? Click here. Yeah. And so I think a future like that is trusted, vetted, and led by your identity, which you could commercialize. Businesses would want your data, presenting opportunities in the digital space in the Caribbean, starting in the Bahamas. So you are probably the first to know, and I will drop it here for you, is that we've just completed our reorganization. We are now a multinational company with operations spanning 8 different countries around the globe, from United States to London to Africa and the Caribbean. Our US and UK operations will not present themselves until next year, but we are preparing and planning a massive launch. And so we'll be telling the public more about the Kanoo Group, our new branding, services, and technology led by a security-first approach. We're super excited about that. We have new team members on board. It's been 2 years in the making, head down, picking up from the lessons learned, and really just getting our feet in the sand and doing the work. And now we're excited to get to this next step. You heard it first.
I am honored that I'm the first one to know this.
All
And
right.
I wonder, what key lessons have you learned from your experience in scaling a startup in the Caribbean that other founders should know?
Scaling a startup in the Caribbean is a series of books. Doing business in the Caribbean is like sailing in the Caribbean, particularly in the Bahamas. It's beautiful. The sand, the sea, the water is crystal clear, but we have a lot of reefs and rock, right? And so if you don't know how to navigate, you're going to end up on a reef. One of the core strategies of competitive advantages we had was that when we looked at technology and scaling in the Caribbean, where we said, we're so spread out. There's 45 million Caribbean nationals. 2/3 of those are unbanked or underbanked, but we're spread out by vast amounts of water, a lack of logistical network that really connects us the way that we should be connected, minimal shipping lane. So logistics and geography, as well as different regulatory regime, and then also even different tax regimes present a challenge. We do have the Caribbean Free Trade Agreement. However, the Bahamas is not a full member of the agreement. So these are some of the kind of like the rocks that you have to jump over. We call it island hopping. Is it worth the time of a large multinational to look at island hopping through the Caribbean, where one island may have 300,000 people, another 1.5 million, right? So what is really the value in that to a large conglomerate? But when we sat down and we said, hey, really as a block, you have 45 million people. So we are best poised to leverage our relationships in the region, build the technology, and do the island hopping. So that's what we embarked upon doing, traveling down to Guyana, to Trinidad, to Jamaica, Barbados, Cayman, Turkey. So we know all of these islands. We have partners in all of these islands. And so we utilize our strategic network, technology, access to connect the Caribbean through technology, identifying the right partnerships and relationships, having an understanding of the cultural dynamics on the ground is something that is very important, because in the Caribbean, we all love to hear our accent. How do you create that cultural dynamic in each Caribbean island, right? And so your customer service needs to sound you need a Bajan accent, a Trinidadian accent, a Jamaican accent, a Bahamian, right? So but we're all one. We all love to be together, but we all love to hear our own accent. And so that's one of the cultural tweaks so we're exploring with how do we make sure that someone in Barbados, when they call, they hear a Bajan accent on the line for customer service. So these are the intricacies we're exploring, and it's fun. We enjoy it. We have a great team, and throughout the region, it's a movement. The right people are aligning. This is an exciting time to do business in the Caribbean. Hopefully one day we'll be able to sew it all up and open it up to the public. Big goals we would love to achieve.
A localized approach, ensuring everyone feels understood and part of a community.
Definitely 100% boots on the ground, merging old school business tactics with new school technology, bringing people along business by business and user by user. We've seen a lot of success and we have a big lead. We've embarked on acquisitions as well. So one of our mergers has resulted in us being majority owners of significant technology, one of 3 companies in the world that has this certified chip technology. And so we are providing wearable devices for card issuers on a white label basis. And so we have secured contracts so far with over 18 banks in Africa, and also working with some companies and entities in the UAE to expand this technology. We signed an MOU for 2 million rings in the Caribbean. We're starting to see banks reach out to work with us on our CBDC platforms, wearable technology, and offline payment technology. And so with that, we want it to make sure that for example, 2 men in a bush should be able to transact from chip to chip or card to card, essentially. And so we have secured interest in a patented chip technology that manages the forward spend on the chips, which is revolutionary and being explored in some parts of Africa. So we're excited about that. The Africa opportunity is something that is new, that has popped up within the last year, but it's something that we are definitely putting the resources, the minds, and the management to. And then again, leveraging our relationships here in the Caribbean, when we really begin to think about it, like we have the Caribbean, we have significant relationships in Africa over time. We've been successful with those as well. And it's been a blessing. Through one of our investments, we're working with 6 central banks in Africa, which is huge, and then another 18 commercial banks. And hopefully in the next 24 months, we can actually see the footprint of the Kanoo Super app on the continent of Africa, which would then now be the first step in connecting Africa and the Caribbean through technology. And so we envision ourselves building out digital marketplaces, enabling commodities trading, and then undergirding a shipping and logistics module to the platform so that if there's excess coffee or cacao or mangoes somewhere in one of the jurisdictions, an individual such as me I may want to start a coffee house in my community, and I may be able to access this marketplace and access coffee from Kenya, or from the cacao from the Ivory Coast, or the mangoes from Bahamas. And so that's the thinking, is how do we build these technical bridges, the infrastructure, ensure that they're secure and persons have access and persons understand how they can empower themselves, empower their families, and build better lives using the technology.
And so a lot of opportunities for aspiring entrepreneurs.
With the Kanoo platform here in the Bahamas, so we say we can take an entrepreneur and we can get him set up in business in less than 48 hours. So with a digital platform, with an online marketplace, ability to accept digital payments, engage with all of the persons in the app, full advertising and marketing platform via, I would say, your customer loyalty program, customized gift cards, punch cards, coupons, all digitally distributed and populate their own marketplaces. Right? For a small business, if you're a wood carver or straw hat vendor, you're out of the game. Historically, in the Caribbean, cruise passengers, which represent the bulk of the tourism in the Caribbean, don't travel with cash. When they do come off of the ship, they come off with debit and credit cards primarily. Local artisans and small business owners have been restricted from engaging in services with those served. So we see this as a new opportunity for Caribbean nationals to easily get set up, get running, innovate, create, and engage, and then also continue to be connected with those customers and continue to engage. We see a world of opportunity with the technology in the Caribbean, and we've been behind in the Caribbean with technology. Our understanding gives us a competitive advantage, and we're excited to deliver. We take the responsibility seriously. We want to uplift and protect those we serve. We're taking a measured approach to hand holding, walking with, and addressing concerns as they arise.
Definitely. So, what motivates you to continue pushing for financial inclusion in the Caribbean, and how do you measure success in this mission?
The motivating factor for me, and I say this probably came out of just some of the history of my professional career. I would have passed through my first stint in the financial industry would have been as the financial officer for the local securities exchange. One of my first tasks or project was to complete a business plan and literally the management and operation of a subsidiary that was established to form the Central Securities Depository. So I had great opportunity to learn. I was tasked to literally draft every procedure, every rule, the entire business plan, submit to the central bank for licensing. I'd never done it before in my life. And so now I never forget being tasked with that and just sitting there thinking, this doesn't feel like my job, doesn't feel like my role, doesn't feel like anything I wanted to do. My father told me at the times I complained, and obviously to my father, and he told me, so Nick, he gave me an interesting story about him in the oil industry and tasks that you're given that you do not want to do. I embraced the task, and through embracing the task, I completed the task and we were successful. But I learned so much in that process about the capital markets in the Bahamas, settlement network, broker dealers, the trading system, and the connectivity between the central bank and the depository. And this was just so fascinating for me, this network of this web of connected entities. And so that impression stuck with me. And when the opportunity presented itself to get access to the technology, I had an understanding of this connected web of financial entities. And my big vision was to redesign the financial ecosystem in the Bahamas. I saw this as the first step when the opportunity presented itself. I'm not a technologist at all. No coding background. That weakness had to be addressed, right? And so when I found that opportunity, I leveraged that with one of our co-founders who had that ability. That relationship started, and then that's how, once that alignment happened, that's what enabled me to then utilize the skill set that I had, the values that I'd gotten from sports, the skill sets that I've gotten and learning from business. Then the opportunity came, and it was an aha moment. It began as baby steps, and we're still in cadence towards achieving that full vision. But I feel super excited today as to where we're at and what we've been able to achieve thus far.
It's very inspiring to hear your story, especially how you're able to merge all your background and knowledge in finance and connectivity with creating a new vision.
It was difficult and fearful in terms of stepping into something that you don't know and leveraging and relying upon essentially others to give you the right information and the right guidance. And then if you don't know, how do you validate or inspect what you expect? This is where intuition comes into play, right? And so you got to come to a place as to, okay, do I walk across these burning coals, per se, to get to the other side? It's your intuition is going to tell you whether or not it's worth it or not. And so you have to, when you get to the other side, you may find as you say, hey, boy, that the coals were very hot. I've burnt off one foot and maybe I need to find some shoes or maybe I need to do something different. And that's fine. It's a part of your journey. And I always feel like one thing leads you to another, right? And so in trusting the process and trusting your intuition, trusting others to a certain, right, is an important point, right? You got to trust the process and you got to be able to let go and be open to make mistakes. When you make mistakes, make another decision. And it's just a decision wheel, right? And so hopefully you don't make such a big mistake as you're out of the game. But that's the creativity, innovation, fun, and enjoyment in entrepreneurship. I don't think entrepreneurship is for everyone. For those interested, it is a beautiful, painful experience. It's worth the journey and self-discovery. We live one, and if we can give back as much as we can, if we can help out as much people as we can along the journey, and if we can enjoy what we do along the journey, the experiences, meeting people is one of my favorite parts about entrepreneurship is meeting different people, discussing opportunities with them, and then just the ideation. There's many parts to entrepreneurship that we all don't like. But again, it's what is the purpose? What is the vision? What are you driving for? And that keeps you aligned and keeps you focused and it keeps you excited.
Definitely. So always having a vision as the North Star and be open to trusting your intuition and making mistakes, hopefully not too big ones. Even if it's too big, you can innovate and solve the problem as an entrepreneur.
When you fail forward,
This is a great point to finish our podcast on. Thank you so much, Nicholas, for sharing all of your insights with our audience and for everything you're doing for your community.
thank you so much. I received that and appreciate those kind words. We don't want to be presumptuous, but yes, we do want to help people. That is at the heart of what we do. We want to make a sustainable business, but at the end of the day, we see the democratization of technology, empowerment of people as a guiding principle and value for us, and just looking to align with the right individuals with the competencies and vision to benefit as much of humanity as possible.
Thank you so much.
Appreciate it.